Leader Nazir Al-Ansi has claimed that his terrorist organization is behind the January 7th attacks on the satirical French newspaper Charlie Hebdo. 17 people were gunned down by Saeed and Sharif Karachi in response to Hebdo's depiction of the Muslim prophet Muhammad. With Paris still in a state of concern, authorities are working to find the remaining suspects.
The new edition of Charlie Hebdo was on newsstands today, just a week after the terror attack. The magazine sold out in minutes. The artist who illustrated the cover spoke about how important it is to continue the publishing. Parisians waited patiently for hours to pick up a copy. The demand was so high that the magazine's publisher are going to reprint the 2 million more copies. Canadians can scoop up one of 1,500 copies available here on Friday. Google and other websites and publications have offered millions of dollars to help keep the controversial magazine on newsstands.
In light of the Charlie Hebdo attacks, reporter Michael Apiakubi looks into why political cartoons are so important to freedom of speech.
Those are disturbing images of what happened in Paris last week at Charlie Hebdo, which begs the question, is there a limit to freedom of speech?
Simple, straightforward answer, no. There should never be a limit of what any human being has the right to say. If it offends you, you could say it and they could apologize or it could be removed. But the minute we put limits on what people say and what people do, that stops us from being what we should be, human beings.
The two terrorists believed that the drawings were disrespectful.
Even though some were against the images, there were many who were supporting it, like the students from Sheridan College's art program.
I believe that there are people that need to do it, and I wouldn't do it, but there's Charlie. I give kudos to Charlie Hebdo to being able to put issues out there with so much courage.
A lot of people, even on like Twitter or Instagram, were posting these kind of like rallying messages, right? You've probably seen them too. There's like cartoons about if you snap a pencil in two, you can sharpen both ends, right? That kind of thing, right? So I thought that was overwhelmingly positive, but also way more assertive than I had expected.
To show that the pen is mightier than the sword, cartoonists around the world show their support of Charlie Hebdo and the people who passed away. For EyeOnSheridan, I'm Michael Piakubi.
The Department of Homeland Security is tightening security checks at American airports. This comes after Al-Qaeda in Yemen released new bomb-making techniques and instructions on how to act as a lone wolf terrorist. The new security measures include additional random checks after you pass through security, passenger pat-downs, and hand swabs for traces of explosives. Passengers on U.S.-bound international flights will also have their electronic devices examined to ensure they aren't hiding explosives. Authorities are revisiting a proposal to strengthen security on Parliament Hill that was shelved prior to last October's deadly shooting. There was a plan in the works for one agency to be responsible for security on the Hill, similar to the system used by the U.S. Capitol Police to protect the American Congress. It's still unclear why the proposal was originally ignored.
Toronto Police Chief Bill Blair will now be required to testify about his role in Toronto's G20 summit, ruled former Ontario Superior Court Justice John Hamilton this morning. His top-ranked officer, Mark Fenton, testified that he was following orders from Blair when he arrested 263 protesters and said Blair had thanked him for saving the city. Blair's lawyer argued that the hearing is an employee disciplinary matter, not a public matter.
Police have released a security video of two persons of interest in the murder of 47-year-old Wasif Galban. On December 3rd, 51 division officers responded to a call on 200 Wellesley Street where they discovered a lifeless body in a second-floor apartment. Security video shows two men entering the apartment on December 1st, the last time the victim was heard from. Anyone with information is asked to call 416-222-TIPS.
Today, 18-year-old Kaylee Oliver Machado was sentenced as an adult for luring girls over social media, then proceeding to drug, beat, and force them into prostitution. She's been sent to a prison in Ottawa to serve the remainder of her 6.5-year sentence for human trafficking. She's already served more than 3 years in a youth facility.
A fire inside a shed near McCowan Road and Shepherd Avenue East has claimed the life of a homeless man. Investigators believe the man was living in the shed. It's suspected he started the blaze in an attempt to keep warm as temperatures fell to -20 degrees overnight. This is the fourth homeless person in Toronto to die in the last 8 days.
Today, Sebastian Prosep pleaded not guilty to drunk driving charges in an accident that claimed the life of a father and his daughter. Today in court, Prosep's lawyer said his client's blood test was improperly sealed and spilled in transit, making it impossible to prove his blood alcohol level on the night of the crash in August of 2012. However, 40 minutes after the accident, the Hospital and Center of Forensic Sciences, in separate tests, confirmed his blood alcohol level was 2 times the legal limit.
2 people were taken to hospital after suffering from carbon monoxide poisoning at a local hotel in Oakville. At 7:35 this morning, Halton Police and Fire Rescue received a call from Staybridge Suites reporting a carbon monoxide leak within the hotel. 200 people were evacuated. Officials say they can't release any information on the condition of those taken to hospital. Other guests were taken to Halton Regional Service Center, but after the incident, they've since returned to the hotel.
Halton police want to speak with an elderly man seen in surveillance video shortly before a replica grenade was found at a Metro grocery store in Burlington. The man is seen leaving the parking lot located at Appleby Line and Upper Middle Road in a black van. Police are trying to find out if the replica grenade was left in the store intentionally or by mistake. The beer store's private monopoly is facing another legal challenge, this time from a Burlington pub owner and a craft beer entrepreneur. David Hughes and Michael Hassel, a Toronto-based lawyer, have sent the Ontario government notice that they will be proceeding with a class action lawsuit to strike down the law that enforces the non-compete agreement between the beer store and Liquor Control Board of Ontario.
Students and parents gathered at the Toronto District School Board to discuss the importance of student safety. These meetings were sparked by the recent stabbing death of Hamid Aminzada. Aminzada was killed while attempting to break up a fight. The board's Director of Education, Donna Kwan, addressed students, parents, and faculty.
A constructive report that tells us what they're hearing, not what we believe should be heard.
Interested groups and students in hopes to improve student safety this year.
Many Sheridan students are in their final semester of college, but what happens after that? Chris Dalbigan has some tips on how to make the transition from student to professional.
After 3 years of hard work, photography student Braden Swire knows he is on the path to success. But as he nears the end of his stint at Sheridan College, Braden has his mind set on the future.
Definitely a little sad, a little nervous. I don't think any photographer is really ready for the outside world. It's definitely a little sad not having all the equipment to go out and play with.
Braden is one of hundreds of students expected to cross the stage on Convocation Day in June. But after that comes the traditional job hunt, so students are starting to feel the pressure.
Sheridan College has maintained an 80% KPI graduate employment rate since last year. Although that is below the provincial level, the school focuses time and resources on students preparing for the workforce.
Gail Collins is an employment consultant in the Career Center. She says future employers look for multi-talented individuals.
Which is, their ability to work in a team, their problem-solving skills, their ability to, think outside of the box, have initiative, communication skills, their ability to then, work with data.
As for Braden, he is confident his freelance work will one day earn him a steady job.
I'm not really quite sure where it will combine together, but I know that, if you keep shooting, keep doing what you're doing, eventually it will all, come together.
Reporting for EyeOnSheridan, I'm Chris Dobigan.
Later in the show, we'll have your sports, entertainment, and weather news.
But up next, we'll have the latest on the ammonia leak in the International Space Station, coming up after the break.
Welcome back to EyeOnSheridan.
There was a scare today as there had been a suspected toxic leak in the U.S. sector of the International Space Station, which has forced the American astronauts to stay overnight in the Russian sector as a precautionary measure.
Following contingency procedures, the crew donned masks and moved into the Russian segment of the station, closing the hatch to the U.S. segment behind them. Once inside the Russian segment, the crew members were allowed to remove their masks. We need to emphasize that there is no hard data to suggest that there was, in fact, a real ammonia leak.
According to the Russian Mission Control, there's no need to evacuate the ISS crew. The crew is safe and there are no signs of a leak.
Singapore Defense Minister Ng Eng Hen confirmed on Facebook this morning that the fuselage for AirAsia flight QC8501 has been located in the Java Sea. Communications with the flight was lost on December 28th on its way from Indonesia to Singapore, with 162 passengers on board. The bodies of only a few dozen passengers have been discovered.
Over 100 bodies were found in the Ganges River in northern India. The bodies were either dumped or buried in the banks when families were unable to afford a proper cremation. Despite promises from Prime Minister Narendra Modi to clean up the river, it remains badly polluted by industrial waste, farm pesticides, and sewage.
The New South Wales Attorney General says victims of last month's siege at the Link Cafe in Sydney should be compensated. Australian Prime Minister Tony Abbott also said that proper consideration should be given to the surviving hostages of the domestic terror attack. An investigation into the attack will begin January 29th in Sydney to determine if the death could have been avoided.
Dozens gathered in Montreal today to protest the treatment of Saudi Arabian blogger Raif Badawi. Badawi is being held prisoner because he created an online forum for public debate and insulting Islam. Also today, representatives from Amnesty International, the federal NDP, Parti Québécois, and Quebec Solidaire held a news conference in Montreal calling on Ottawa to take action. Foreign Affairs Minister John Baird is in Egypt to meet with officials to discuss the fate of imprisoned Canadian journalist Mohamed Fahmy, who worked for Al Jazeera, was jailed in 2013 for allegedly supporting the outlawed religious group the Muslim Brotherhood. There's hope for Fahmy after the Egyptian government recently passed a new law allowing foreign prisoners to serve their sentence in their home country. Baird will meet with the Egyptian president tomorrow.
An Orthodox Israeli magazine, Haim Saver, has landed itself in hot water. The paper photoshopped German Chancellor Angela Merkel and other female leaders out of an image taken during a march through the streets in Paris this past Sunday. The mayor of Paris, Anne Hidalgo, was also among those photoshopped out. According to the Globe and Mail, ultra-Orthodox magazines eliminate pictures of women for reasons of modesty. The Australian government is looking to claim the house that Adolf Hitler spent his childhood in. Taking over this private property has sparked a debate with the previous owners as the house has become a gathering place for neo-Nazis and supporters of Hitler's policies. Prospective buyers included the Russian parliament, who threatened to demolish the property upon purchase, but plans have fallen through and the home is now under historical protection.
Pope Francis made a surprise visit to Colombo's Mahabodhi Temple in Sri Lanka today. Buddhist leader Banagala Upatissa met with Pope Francis for the first time at an interreligious meeting. The pontiff preached that religions must unite to heal the country's war wounds.
Japan's government has approved its largest military budget in 70 years. In an effort to protect itself against its highly militarized neighbors, Prime Minister Shinzo Abe's cabinet has given the green light to nearly a 5 trillion yen defense budget come April. This is the third hike in military spending since Abe took office in December 2012. Here at home, consumers might be pleased with the price at the pumps, but the economy will continue to take a hit. Deputy Bank of Canada Governor Timothy Lane was unable to say how much Canada will be impacted, but he did say that the prices will stabilize. The Bank of Canada is scheduled to speak on January 21st about interest rates and give an update on the forecast for the economy. The cost for this year's federal election is expected to spike by nearly a third, partly because we will see 30 new ridings and boundaries. Running the election will cost a projected $375 million, which is up to more than 28% from the 2011 elections. Preparation costs alone for this year's vote are projected to be $55 million, including $18 million in extra costs related to writing redistribution.
Men and women in Canada are divided politically ahead of the October 2015 federal election. A poll conducted by Chatelaine magazine found that Liberal leader Justin Trudeau is favored by women, while Prime Minister Stephen Harper is favored by men.
Early this morning, police and RCMP across Saskatchewan conducted numerous raids as part of a large ongoing investigation. Saskatoon police set a half-block perimeter surrounding the Hells Angels clubhouse near 11th Street West and Avenue Q South. There were armored emergency response vehicles parked nearby as several officers were dressed in camouflage outside the Hells Angel building. Among those involved in the raids were members of the Saskatchewan Integrated Drug Unit. Police and RCMP issued releases that did not specify the targets of their searches. After a break, we'll have all the latest in sports.
And FISA will have everything in entertainment news. Stay tuned.
Okay, you're gonna come up.
Thanks for joining us again.
So Pierce, what's happening in the world of sports?
Well, 2014's Big Bloody Deal turned out to be a big bloody bust. Jermaine Defoe has returned to England in a cash and swap deal with the Premiership side Sunderland. The deal includes an MLS record transfer fee of $11 million and U.S. international Josie Altidore. The addition of Altidore to the TFC roster has not been finalized as he is still to clear the MLS allocation draft. Defoe returns home to play with his fifth Premiership side after scoring a TFC club-leading 11 goals in half a season with the Reds before being sidelined by injuries. Raptors All-Star guard DeMar DeRozan's availability will be a game-time decision tonight as the Philadelphia 76ers. Despite DeRozan's tearing the tendon in his groin in November, the Raps have kept the top Atlantic spot. The return of the King did not go as planned for the Cleveland Cavaliers last night as LeBron James returned to the lineup after missing 9 games. LBJ dropped 33 points as the Cavs fell 107-100 to the Giants-slaying Phoenix Suns. The loss was Cleveland's 6th in a row and leaves the team sitting 6th in the Eastern Conference. The Leafs take their traveling roadshow to the OC and into the Pond tonight as they face the league-leading Anaheim Ducks. The Leafs are coming off a 2-0 loss on Monday to the LA Kings. Their new and improved defensive play kept the Kings to under 20 shots. Puck drops at 10 p.m. on Sportsnet Ontario. Calgary Flames rookie Johnny Gaudreau, along with his agent Louis Gross, have taken steps to trademark the nickname Johnny Hockey. Gaudreau is following in the footsteps of NFL quarterback Johnny Manziel. Unlike Johnny Manziel, Gaudreau looks like he'll live up to the hype. The New York Jets have hired Arizona Cardinals defensive coordinator Todd Bowles as their new head coach. Bowles replaces Rex Ryan, who moved on to the Buffalo Bills. That's all for sports. Now over to FISA with the latest in entertainment.
Thank you, Pierce. The Golden Globes marked their 72th award ceremony this past Sunday. Among the winners are very own Sheridan alumnus Dean Dubois took home the award for the Best Animated Feature for How to Train Your Dragon 2. Dubois, who wrote and directed the film himself, graduated from Sheridan in 1990. This marks the first time DreamWorks Animation has received an award in the Best Animated Feature category since it was first introduced in 2006. The 3D action film, which is the second of the trilogy, follows the adventures of a young Viking hero and his dragon and features the voices of Jay Baruchel, Gerard Butler, and Cate Blanchett. CBC is set to host this year's Canadian Screen Awards, celebrating Canada's best in film, television, and digital media, with 13 nominations. Each Orphan Black and Mommies are the first runners in the film category. Among the nominees in news categories include Breakfast Television's Kevin Frankish, Avery Haynes from City News, and Azura Sky from Global. The awards air March 1st at 8 p.m. and will be hosted by Emmy Award-winning comedian Andrea Martin. Avatar fans will have to wait another year to see the first of the highly anticipated sequel. Director James Cameron says the complex process of writing and producing 3 films can't be completed by its original 2016 release date. Avatar 2 will not be released for another 2 years. Harry Potter fans rejoice at a sneak peek of the illustrated version of the first novel. A glimpse of the work of the artist Jim Kay has hit the internet with J.K. Rowling's approval. Among the 6 illustrations, Harry, Hermione, and Ron are all completely reimagined to give fans an idea of what they look like in the books. The new edition will hit shelves in October. Miley's just being Miley in the latest issue of V magazine, going fully nude. The 22-year-old goes fully nude in the V magazine's. The spread features the 22-year-old star in series of Polaroids that leave little to the imagination. The photos were taken by her close friend and assistant Shane Thomas while on tour for the Bangers. The highly anticipated CBC television comedy series Schitt's Creek aired last night, promising back-to-back episodes for its fans. The show was written by comedy legends Eugene and Dan Levi, who also held leading roles for this series.
Baby, it's crazy. People are just like taking our stuff.
Leave your finances to me, said son of a bitch.
There is a very small amount set aside for you, and one asset the government has allowed you to retain.
The kids.
The children are dependents, Moira.
The series follows a family of former millionaires who have to rebuild their lives in the town of Schitt's Creek, which they purchased as a joke. Catch the show at 9 p.m. on Tuesdays. Now we'll head over to Domain for an inside look of the Keys and Crates show tonight at the Marquee.
Hello Sheridan, I am standing outside live at the Marquee where Keys and Crates, an upcoming EDM band, will be performing tonight. I spoke with the president of Sheridan Student Union, Jenna Pulver, about how this all gets set up and what you can expect.
A few months in the making. So here at Student Union we have an events programmer. Her name is Christina Wilkins and she works here full time. And she reaches out to agencies that represent these groups and also some other student unions and other universities and colleges to see kind of who they're bringing in, if we can get group bookings, or the agents to see who's available in our price range. And so we'll reach out to them, we'll exchange contracts, we'll go back and forth and see the requirements and what we're able to do, what we're not able to do, and when we come to an agreement, at that point when the contracts are signed, we book them.
It is an all ages event and tickets are only $5. I'm Domain Reed, like you're reporting for EyeOnSheridan. Now back to the studio with Gabby and Lucas.
A former Boston State prosecutor says Mark Wahlberg should not be pardoned for assaulting 2 Vietnamese men in 1988. A former assistant attorney general says similar charges against the Oscar-nominated actor victimizing a group of black children points to a racial element that hasn't been acknowledged. Wahlberg says he was using drugs and alcohol heavily at the time and has since turned his life around. The 2015 annual Bonnaroo Music and Arts Festival has music lovers even more excited for the spring season. Billy Joel, Mumford & Sons, Deadmau5, Kendrick Lamar, and Florence and the Machine are all expected to perform. The festival will be held in Manchester, Tennessee from June 11th to June 14th, and tickets and accommodations can be found on their website, bonnaroo.com.
So Lucas, are you going to go to the show tonight?
Honestly, I don't know because I'm no fun. I don't usually go out at all.
Oh, come on.
I've been to Sheridan Pub once and it's actually a lot of fun. Never been when there's a band there though, so it could be a completely different experience.
And it's only $5 too, so might as well take the opportunity.
You can't go wrong, but at the same time, it seems like every place I go, I get pretty sweaty, right? And
Right.
and especially right now, even like these lights are hot. I can see myself glistening.
It'll be dark
right?
there, I promise. They won't see it.
It's lucky I'm wearing a jacket. So when we come back, we'll have your 5-day forecast.
And a special honor for a Sheridan student. We'll be back. Welcome back.
Now let's head outside with Elizabeth for the weather. Elizabeth?
Thank you, Lucas. It's still sunny and cold with a high. It's still sunny and cold with a high of -7, but still feels like -14 that we experienced this morning. It also feels like -27. Here are your 7 days forecast. Tomorrow will be cloudy with 40% chance of flurries starting later in the afternoon and into the evening with a high of -5 and a low of -12. Friday will be a mix of sun and cloud, a low of -5, but will feel like a -12. Now moving to warm temperatures. Saturday is of 0, but sadly it will feel like -12. Sunday is mainly cloudy with a 60% chance of flurries and a high of 2 with a low of -6. Clouds continue on Monday with 30% chance of flurries, a high of -9, but will feel like a -11. Today's weather might not be as warm as we wanted, but just to let you know, Fort Severn is the coldest city in Ontario. Currently, it is -24. Across Canada, the warmest place is British Columbia's Vancouver, where it is mainly sunny with a high of 7. Listen, people, it could have been worse. We could have been in Iqaluit, Nunavut, but we are not. Where right now it's -30. That's all I have for you this afternoon. Back to the newsroom.
A big award was handed out in our newsroom today. Sheridan College student and our show producer, Nick Caddis, has received this year's Ed Wood Memorial Shaw Media Scholarship and a generous $10,000 award. Caddis was selected from a group of students nominated from 7 programs. This is the final year the scholarship is being offered. So on the note of weather and on the note of Nick Caddis, he is our show producer, and I have yet to meet somebody else as ice cold as the weather. He is just a terrifying individual when he's
scary,
in the newsroom.
seriously.
Like
especially today.
Yeah, and being on air, like he comes in, you guys didn't see during the break, but he was in here, he was in our face, he's in my ear right now.
Yelling at us right now.
I might not even be back next week, but let's hope so.
Who knows? We'll see. Just better tune back next week.
Yeah. So that's all we have for today for Eye on Sheridan. I'm Lucas Metz.
And I'm Gabby Mendoza. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you next week.